saw the letter that was forwarded to Lauren.
Yep.
So Peggy's going to be talking to our attorney tomorrow morning. She had a meeting set up anyway. So she's going to, find out if this jives with what their attorney and the search came up with. I assume it is correct that they're in fact are the only heirs.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Lauren, you might know, who is the counsel that we are using to do this heir search? Because it looks like from this letter, I mean, the three nieces. It didn't, it wasn't like it was, 10 removed here.
I think they're half sisters because they say she's a sibling of the daughter. They don't say that his daughter. Oh, the siblings of
the daughter.
The daughter.
So they're half sisters on the father's side. That's why I read that.
She was an only child who had one daughter, and it's that daughter's siblings.
Okay, got it.
But yeah, you're right. It's not too far removed.
It's not too far removed. So I'm just curious who our counsel is, because based on conversations, I mean, we've asked a lot throughout all of our meetings I have, what's the status of that? Kind of, it really is important to get past that before we move forward. And I was led to believe, now I did miss a few meetings, but I was led to believe that, there was nobody really around. They're talking about, maybe in France or whatever. So I'm just curious, who's the counsel that we're using on that?
Bertramosis is the firm.
Okay. Okay.
And I forget the guy, but Peggy had the same reaction.
Is it Floyd Dugas?
Right. But
is it Floyd Dugas? Do you know?
It's not Floyd. It's Brian Lima. He's the specialist there that handles land matters. So it's Floyd's team, but it's not Floyd directly.
Gotcha.
And these half sisters or these they could be in Italy. The names are not traditional American names.
Right.
So this could be a little bit of but I would think you'd come across though ancestry isn't big in some countries, and Italy is not strong. In some countries, they don't have strong land records. I know, like in England and Scotland, it's very easy to go back on ancestry because they have excellent records. So Italy, I doubt, and if these are half sisters, maybe it was hard to find.
Yeah, I would be curious just to know, where they are and how this kind of came to be.
Yeah, it almost seems like they saw it in the newspaper, the article or something.
Could be, right. And so it leads me to believe that they're a little more local.
Right. Or somebody, at least a local attorney saw it and said, hey, your heirs are coming due.
Right. Yep.
On a good note, it's actually a good thing, right? Because now it gives us a charge to move forward and find out what fair market value is for whatever use, for the uses. And then
and they have the final sign off.
Figure the rest out with them. If they truly are want to exercise their right.
Oh, I just got a text from Rich. He's in Zoom, but he's here, but he can't get into Zoom.
Huh. Tell him to call in.
Yeah.
Tell him I'm emailing him.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did their letter say something like an objection to it being used for anything other than a school?
That's why I'm reading it. Even selling it at all.
And if I read it, I just reread the deed before the meeting. There is nothing in there that says it must remain as a school. We only need to erect the school, which we did. The town did, the royal we.
Yeah.
But I guess that's for the lawyers to straighten out.
Right.
I would just like to make this comment because it's not something that we've discussed as a committee at all. And I think it's been very lacking in all of our meetings. And I was talking about it with Rich when we were going through his survey. whatever it was, 60 years ago, a family gifted us this property, us, the town of Madison, gifted us this property with a very clear restriction that it will remain as a property for a school. It wasn't that long ago. We're not talking about 300, 400 years ago. It was, it within a generation almost. And, it wasn't just erect a school on it, but it was also, with other various restrictions, which has always been, as we've gone along, in the forefront of my mind as an attorney. And we haven't really had a lot of discussion as we talk about all the things that we can do with it and spending money on developing it, et cetera, or seeing what potential options we have to develop it. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about the fact that the grantor was very clear in their granting of the property what they wanted it for. And I think that the optics of it, we have to be very careful that it doesn't have a significantly chilling effect on anybody who might decide to bequeath property to Madison in the future. That as soon as 50 or 60 or 70 years later, we decide we don't want to use it for a school and we want to do something else with it, despite the fact that it flouts what the gift was all about and for, that we're just gonna kind of use lawyers to end around it somehow. And I think that is something that should be part of our discussion as we go, that, it was very clear, it was very explicit, it was a gift. And I think it's important that depending on how we go with this or what ends up happening with it, that not be so casually kind of disregarded, because I do think that the optics are terrible and that it would have a pretty chilling effect on anybody who may in the future be inclined to gift land to Madison with restrictions.
So I agree with you on optics, but you're an attorney, I'm going to challenge you to find in the deed anywhere that it says the property must be used as a school. Because the first condition is they must erect a public school. And that's it.
Well, that's my point, Joe. If that's Joe, I'm thinking it's Joe. That's my point. I'm sure that we can use a technicality.
It's not a technicality, because then they go further on to say what uses the property cannot be used for in the future. No industrial, no commercial, no insane asylum. So that would presume that it may be used for other conditions later on, other than a school. I would argue that they contemplated
Rich,
that it may not remain.
put you on speaker.
Sorry, what's that? Somebody was talking at the same time.
I said if you look
Yeah, Rich can't get in. I'm just gonna. I called this. He called my. I'm just gonna put my speakerphone.
Okay. So I would look at the first condition is that the school must be erected. Then if you look at the sixth condition, it contemplates that the property may be used for other conditions in the future. So they specifically exclude commercial, industrial, and an insane asylum. I would argue that they contemplated the fact that it may be used for something other than a school in the future. Therefore, they added the sixth condition that excludes industrial, commercial, and an insane asylum. Otherwise, they would have explicitly said must remain as a school. Now, I agree with you on the.
So I don't have it in front of me, and I'm sure that that's the point that I was trying to make. I'm sure that there's a way to end around the intent. But I think it's pretty clear in the deed what their intent was. And while they may have left the door open that they probably didn't want to, I do think that it should be part of our discussion, because I do, for me, it's a little worrisome. It doesn't necessarily sit well. I mean, the intent was clear, whether or not it was artfully drafted and crafted. I think for me, the intent was clear. And I just think that we ought to be careful in how we go about this. So the optics are not that, we're disregarding it because it doesn't suit us today, because we closed the school and now we want to sell it and profit off of it, or, use it for some other significant, purpose that's of value to the town. I think we need to be careful as we go.
I would think that they were intentfully crafty in the way that they wrote it purposefully.
Well, now that we apparently have an heir, or we can let them, I guess, weigh in.
Or
on
three,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that it's not subjective. And if they want to, I mean, if they want to buy the property
That's
for
up to
whatever value we get, whatever price, I don't know why they would.
That's a good question. And then that price, what's a fair market price?
I'm going to throw this out. First of all, I read between the lines of that letter. One is they put up a pretty good retainer for that attorney. That's number one. Number two, if you get into the mind of that attorney the way it was written, they're going after money. They don't want the property. And I think what they're going to do is just put a stick in the spoke, make it difficult, put a lot of poo-poo on the table, and they're going to want money. Okay? They spent money to get that letter out. So there's a message right there. I mean, I would do is I'd find out who are these three players. I'd do a background check on them, find out if they're even talking to each other. They're a bunch of Italians, and I guarantee you what they're after is money. Okay?
Take it easy there, buddy. Take it easy.
They're done that. So,
You can say that because you're Italian.
no shit.
Right.
Okay?
My wife's Italian, so I can half say what you just said.
Yeah. So I know what they're doing. Okay? And I'll tell you right now, they'll fuck themselves up the ass because they're for money.
Guys, I've been down this road before. I've been down this road.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Some family issues you want to share with us?
Wait,
Rich?
this is being recorded, right?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, just a little reminder, boys. This is being recorded.
So, yeah, I saw that letter, and I could get into that mind of that attorney, and she said, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're got a strategy, okay? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to be a Mr. Nice Guy on this one.
Yeah. So apparently some attorneys are going to get some billable hours. Luckily, out of this deal from somebody.
No shit, okay? I'm sorry, Barbara. Did I offend anybody?
No, I mean, to Barbara's point earlier, I mean, that's what they're going to argue, right? They're going to argue intent. Now we're going to argue the other side because they're going to want the most value, whatever it is. At the end of the day, they still have to cough up the money if we get a bona fide offer. So it behooves us as a group to figure out what the market values are and actually try to get a bona fide offer. Because it seems like there are a couple bona fide buyers in the town. So we should,
I mean, basically, based on this, after Peggy speaks to our lawyer and confirms that this is all legit, it seems like that's the only course.
yeah.
I mean, assuming these half sisters, if they're not blood, they may not be blood of Constantine, so they may not even be legit. I'm thinking about it. I may not be half sisters, Even.
Isn't that the first step?
I still, is this political? Next year is an election year. I'm going to throw out questions like that.
Oh, geez.
I think that's a little much.
Conspiracy theory? Did everybody drink before today's meeting? I don't know what's happening today.
Isn't the logical next step to figure out if this is legit or not? Like, no matter what happens?
Yeah, you're right. The attorneys are going to look at it. Peggy's talking to our attorney tomorrow.
And if it is, realistically, if it is legit, and we go by what this risk assessment survey says, then there should be no issue with it.
Right.
Point.
That's why we did the risk assessment. Okay.
Right.
Just out of curiosity.
So our data is pointing us into just moving forward and continuing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We maintain the charter. I'll keep quiet. Graham, this is your meeting, okay? I had a glass of wine already. I calmed down.
No.
Not a problem. Okay, so I mean, I guess we'll wait for the attorneys to tell it. It's all conjecture at this point. The impact of the letter. It definitely spiced up the our meeting, to say the least. So
it was also nice to see the other letter from the individual alluding to suggesting that they put multifamily home there. or condos. So with that letter and with the Ayers letter, it's nice to see people are paying attention.
Yeah. So yeah, the news, the outreach definitely, I think that woman lives right next to the general residence, so it's ironic that she's saying how wonderful the multifamily housing is.
It is
'Cause
ironic.
she's got new neighbors, apparently.
Is she a developer?
I didn't recognize the name.
Just wondering. I don't know.
She owns condos.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like a criminal attorney.
Oh boy.
So yeah, so we're still on for the outreach on the 17th. So more outreach. So a little news article, and then the outreach. We'll get more people coming out of the woodworks, I'm sure. So item 4, okay, the public outreach. So we're on for the 17th. I invited I sent the invite to that woman and whoever else. I'm not sure how many people we're going to get, but we'll see. And then the survey schedule. So I know we went back and forth about whether we do it before or after we put out the RFP. I mean, I'm thinking maybe we do it before we put out the RFP. I don't know I'm open to that for discussion. If we're going to get a statistically significant survey. I mean, what do people think?
Based on the initial results of the survey being heavily skewed toward one response or another.
Yes, correct.
I think that we don't put out a survey, another survey, because we're just going to do the same thing.
I would offer that if we did do a survey, maybe we do it after the RFP and we have more solid numbers so we can provide specific content. People understand what the potential uses are.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that was the original thought. Yeah, I mean, until everything is conjecture until we get somebody who's willing to put money on the table.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Yeah, and then if we, if we have no bidders, then the whole thing's a moot point.
Right.
And who knows? I mean, everyone's thinking OLM is the likely buyer, but who knows how much money they're really going to want to put up on the table.
Right.
Okay, so we're back to the after the RFP process. Okay, let's see the newsletter. So I assume everyone saw the article in the source, which I thought was well done. Could have used some graphics, but that's that's good. So I guess maybe the next kind of news blast will be the results of our 17th. I don't know if it makes sense to try to get a newsletter out or something to the source, kind of re-advertising our public outreach on the 17th, just to make sure we get as many people as possible.
Whatever we do,
I guess.
Make sure it's neutral and you stick to the plan and communicate and be transparent.
So you want to issue a press release, Graham, basically?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just to get an article, something, just to get it flat. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of news, going on in the next 2 or 3 weeks, locally and nationally, to say the least. So it's hard to make much noise in the paper. Maybe the week after the election, we'll get something out there. I know the source guy said he would
be a lot of noise then too.
Yeah, depending what happens,
Yeah.
But
A good
I mean, the
point.
local stuff will blow through. I think. I mean, the national stuff isn't going to be on the source, and I think the local stuff will.
So
The letters to the editor will die down.
So for publication the publication date after the election is the 12th. Well, there's the 5th, but
Yeah, that's two. I think two. Yeah, so if we get it at 12th, and like I said, the local elections, the letters to the editors, they'll be in the rearview mirror. I can kind of guess which way it's going anyway, but so they'll be starved with some news locally by then. So let's shoot to try to get in that article. And then any other comments on that end of publicizing our outreach? Everyone has on our calendar for the 17th in the Zoom call. I think we said we're going to have a half hour before just to kind of prep. And then I don't know how many people we're going to actually call in anyway, but it's something we have to do. I think Lauren said there's 4 people on the review committee for the. So maybe we can get 5 at least. So invite friends and relatives. So now moving on to the main topic of our thing, the new business. So I assume everyone got Rich's summary. If they have it handy, pull it up here. And I don't know if Rich, if you wanted to walk us through it.
Okay.
After all your work.
And first of all, thank you everybody for your input. And the way this works is that in anticipation of the letter today, is we really wanted to document our thought process. And the way you document it is you break down your individual decision of why you choose this, and you break it down to risk, reward, safety concerns, community effects, and so on. So originally, when we started this committee, I sent out the model, and it was just a generic model. And what I had to do is rebuild it based on what the results of the initial survey was, and to align to the business case work that has been done by the committee. So, in essence, it broke down to I created an overall rating, the Madison resident satisfaction, which is an overall perceived satisfaction from the individual members of this committee, and added up to a committee result. And then a public safety concerns, reward, and risk. So essentially, it's taking your thought process and putting a numeric value to it. That's all it is. The presentation I sent out is for the committee. I sent it out in PowerPoint versus PDF, is so you can pick and choose what slides you wish to use for any future presentations to either the Board of Selectmen or any outreach. And I backed up, to start off, I backed up and just did a high-level view of our process of what we've completed so far. And essentially, we collected suggestions from the community, which is the initial survey. Then we performed a Pareto, and then we created business cases for each one of those major items in the Pareto, and then we individually just completed our rating based on the business case of the summary of items, and we numerically summarized our risk/reward for each one. And now we'll be preparing a summary back to the Board of Selectmen. So on slide 3 is the numerical value. Now what it is, it's essentially, you take the number of respondents, and if there was I think there was 104 respondents, I took a percentage of each one. And if we picked, we took the terms anything to do with sale to an existing school, and I think there's 2 candidates. Essentially, we would have something like 45% of the community would be in favor of that. So there's a credit for heading that direction, and there's also a debit, the fact that there's some other suggestions out there. So these are the numerical values, and then on slide 4 is the risk reward chart, and all it is just assembling the amount of perceived risk, and we've highlighted an example today of what a potential risk would be, and then what are the rewards. Ideally, you want the lowest amount of risk with the highest amount of reward. So we took all the committee, I put all the committee input, and I sent receipts back to confirm, so if we were ever audited, so you have your copies back, and I'll put all the results and such on the drive, the shared drive. But this is the summary, and anything to the right and in the upper right-hand quadrant is, yes, it's a high reward, but also there's associated risk with it, and the risk could be anything from more traffic on the road to, and when I was talking to Barbara, I look at zero risk as I don't even have to call an attorney. That would be a 0. And a 5 would be adjudication, approval by the members of the community, and then environmental impact. That would be some examples. So what we have here is a summary of all the members, and obviously the lowest risk is open space, and respecting the dog park suggestion, and then selling to existing school would have the lowest risk and the perceived highest reward. And then the next 2 slides are broken down in each category. So I could show you the data, whoever's putting a presentation together for the Board of Selectmen, but that's the bar chart. Those are results for each one. And then the last chart is just an overall summary of what the survey from us came up with. We can extend the survey to the Board of Selectmen. We can design it if you wish to go with the Board of Selectmen later. Maybe they want to do their own, but this is from our committee. So are there any questions?
I'm clear.
Okay. And again, what it does is just, instead of saying, this is our opinion, it was creating evidence in the event that we did get to adjudication or some type of litigation. These are the reasons why we chose this. So we document the business case, we document the survey, and this is part of our white paper to the Board of Selectmen.
I think
Yeah, no, right. I thought it was a very interesting process.
I think it's the basis to the white paper.
So it's covering the majority of our bases. This is my first time I did this in a Zoom environment. Usually we have we're doing off sites. These are fairly large events. Gathering people together, and you vote when you're in the room. But there were some anomalies doing this by Zoom and trying to get the receipts and such back and forth. But I thought it came out pretty straightforward. I was pleased with the results, and pretty much the results were predicted. But at least now you have a visual aid to show you why each one of us have chosen what we chose. Are there any questions at all, or?
No, I think it was great, Rich.
So I would say the next step, and if I remember the last presentation to the Board of Selectmen, is we received an action item to eventually do another, an all-up survey. And we'd probably do this again, and see what the results, from those results. It's a little bit on the labor-intensive side, but again, this is my first time out doing it in a Zoom environment. So, were there any opinions about it, or is it just, I know I had some questions from the group going forward, but I thought the input was fairly consistent. There was some swings in opinions, but it's essentially how, and again, it's each one of us have our own backgrounds, and what it's doing is bringing your background to the table, and it puts a value to it. And that's all it is. But the one slide on sheet 4, and again, if you want to use this for presentation, we can modify it any way that's needed. That essentially is the risk-reward chart.
Yeah, the only comment I would have would probably the coloring should be the other top left quadrant as the brightest color. As you transition from low to high, I think it should be the other way around.
Yeah, you want to know how difficult it was to do that? Okay.
No, it's a great effect, but I think it should be shaded the other way.
Okay.
And you know, I think a magenta would be better than
magenta.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But no,
I'm sorry. I'm just calming down now because I love those letters.
so yeah, no, it was great. No, I appreciate. Yeah, you know, and I think everyone can agree that if we get the value we hope to get from the school, it's probably the least risk, especially in light of the letter, which seems to be it would lead us to a dollar, the highest dollar value, as opposed to a best value selection. If someone, as I was saying before, so if someone's going to give you $5 million for the property but not pay any taxes, or someone's going to give you $1 and pay you $1 million a year in taxes, the letter, the lawyer's letter would lead you towards the $5 million scenario, because that's the highest use, because they might take the property for $1. I mean, just I'm exaggerating the extent, but that was one of the first things I saw, that would lead us to a highest first value on day one, as opposed to some other alternative best value scenario.
That's why it was very important. That's why when the business cases were complete, and the file I sent out after that is you could have manipulated that file to see the what if scenarios. For example, if it was, say, sold to a developer, let's say the developer wanted an abatement for a year or two on taxes. It makes that business case looks worse. So what it does is it puts it on a dashboard in front of you to make the determination.
Right.
But you follow this. We have a process. We followed the process, and this is the information we document.
Now, one question in terms of sell to the existing school, for the people who obviously that's the highest rated, the potential of getting taxes in lieu, that they would pay taxes if they bought the property. How much did that figure in people's perception that was a better deal? I don't know if people even thought about that.
Well, wasn't that the survey result? Are you talking about us or the survey results?
I mean, I think
because
us, right?
I think the resident survey results, obviously, they don't know that.
I mean, I can say that factored heavily into me weighting that positive in any way, shape, or form. I think that if we're not going to get tax revenue for it, I mean, an upfront sale is an upfront sale. If we're not going to do an upfront sale with tax revenue, I kind of think that it's silly to do something like that.
Yeah, if you're talking about our evaluations, for me, it was a major factor.
Okay, so that's a key component of the deal, that we got to make sure they pay taxes.
Right, and each one of us should document why you picked that rating.
Yeah, that's a boundary condition.
Yeah.
Right. The boundary condition is the assumption going into it. The assumption going into it was that they would make pilot payments or something of the sort, as well for
right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just was wondering if everyone, and I don't know how that affects the deal with the heirs, because that may lower the price if they're assuming they're going to have to amortize that cost over the next 20 years. So, I mean, It's just things we need to think about. I mean, I don't think they're going to buy it for $1 million. I don't know why would you, what are they going to buy it for? What would they use it at school for? Anyway, but.
Is there anybody else on this phone?
Yeah.
Are there any
public?
No, we're live on YouTube.
We're live, and it's being recorded, and people do occasionally watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. I'm sure Gus won't mind. I'll let Gus. I'll apologize to Gus in advance.
Okay. All right, then I'll keep quiet.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, okay. So I think we're all kind of like we got to let it play out, and we'll see what comes out of the 17th. If there's a groundswell of.
I mean, now it's in the town attorney's hands at the moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be decided, whether they're, what the deal is, and if and Ancestry.com can determine if these people are legit or not. I'm going to Google them later and just see if I can find where
well, if
Pablo
they're-
Picatelli lives.
Yeah, I mean, if they are, they're her half siblings apparently, right? So they are the father had children with another woman,
Right.
and those are their children.
Yeah. So whether they're an heir, whether
Whether
they're
that actually qualifies as an heir of the,
right is
that's
that superseded?
It's not mine to determine because I'm not an attorney.
Right. A second, if there's, let's say there's a second cousin once removed, is a sibling, as a half sister higher than a cousin once removed? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not blood relatives of
Consequence.
her, right?
I think they were relatives. And weren't they blood of the?
No,
The blood of the
they're
father,
not
not
blood,
of the
they're
mother.
not blood relatives of the donor. They are half siblings.
On the father's side, yeah.
They would show up on the bloodline if I read the letter correctly.
Well, either way, that's not for us to determine.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right,
Right.
Jason. Yeah, we'll
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
attorneys have to make a living too, right, Barbara? So we got to let them.
Exactly.
Hate to think of all those starving architects, needing attorneys. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, they'll get that figured out, and I'm assuming that Peggy will get back to us with whatever she learned.
Yeah, she said me let me know after her call. She was, this is something that's been in the works for 15 years. So she was quite surprised to get the letter today.
Right.
So our next, okay, sorry.
Yep. So I think that's does anyone have any more comments on Rich's excellent presentation here?
No, I think that it was exactly what we said we were going to do when we set out.
And again, this is our decision process is continuing, and if there's something that changes based on the information we were presented originally, we do this again, and the ratings may or may not change. It's notional. It's notional based on what you have in front of you today. Right.
And the other thing I would suggest that in terms of Colliers, I think Lauren sent out the contract, but it would be interesting. We're making some assumptions about real estate, based on our own knowledge. But it'd be interesting. I think we bring Colliers in and they can give some insight in terms of the viability of the direct sale and the multifamily and what the market's like, because they handled the deal with Academy, so they were involved in that, and so it'd be interesting just to get their insights to validate some of our assumptions anyway. So I'll after the 17th, maybe I'll invite them to come in and kind of update us on where they see the market is right now for the viability of any of this, and what the direct sale is. Also the town is doing a building assessment of all municipal buildings, non-schools. I don't know if people are aware of that, but so they have an architect, an engineer going through all the buildings and evaluating the conditions. And they originally did not have Island Avenue in the scope of work because it was no longer a school or a town building, but they added it in. So they're going to be doing an evaluation of the existing condition of this building, with potential for reuse as a school and otherwise. And that'll probably be made available to the potential buyers. But so that'll also inform some of our the decisions about the condition of the building. So that's due in December. So there's just more data coming in at that point. So,
Graham, I have a question.
Yep.
Is there a white paper that will be developed eventually, like our summary?
I guess we're gonna make. It depends on if we have a final. Depends how it plays out, because I mean our delivery is to make a recommendation. So if we continue on with the RFP, but if not, we may just summarize it and put it in a package. That's similar to what the town whatever you call it, not charter committee, but they basically they got to a point made a recommendation, put a bow on it, and gave it to the selectmen and said, you know, here it is. This is our this is our summary, and they stopped at that point. And that could happen to us. You know, we may just put wrap it up and turn it over. At one point, if we didn't have this air thing, I thought we potentially were heading that way.
Yeah.
But I think they may expand our charge to go beyond that, similar to what they did on Academy. Academy was limited scope, and then they recharged them to continue on with the referendum, which obviously has been delayed till early next year. And then that's another thing that might change this. If, depending on what happens with that, that may change some of the thinking on public facility. You know, but I think Lauren, is that still planned for like February, March for a referendum, or do you know what the latest is? Yeah.
No, they the board agreed to put that on hold right now because of COVID.
Yeah, I assume it'd be pretty much a guaranteed fail at this point if they went forward with a $15 million request at this point.
Yeah.
So
is there? I mean, COVID changed the way changed the way everybody is thinking today, and I got to talk with Peggy about a week ago, and it sounds like the board is kind of rethinking, some of the decisions they may or may not have made in the past because of COVID. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, things have changed. One thing that's changed is real estate is going crazy. So it's like which is contrary to what you would have thought.
Well, we essentially just had an example of that this past weekend, and it's just within 2 hours there was three offers. It was unbelievable.
My daughter just put an offer in a house, and there were 14 bidders, and it went 25% over asking.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what we're faced with today, and it seems to be the towns that are surrounding Madison. Guilford, Madison, Clinton, Westbrook, Old Saybrook, and
well, everywhere. Litchfield County. This was my daughter was going to buy in like Central Mass in the Amherst area, and there's nothing.
Really?
There's like everyone just is hovering over the real estate listings. They come out during the week, and they just fall in these houses as they come out.
Yeah.
Anything an hour drive outside a major city right now is up like 15 to 30%.
Yeah.
But that too will change.
It always does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I asked, so related, so I hear OLM is doing well and they're getting good. So their business model apparently is doing well too. So, other parents are taking their kids out of public schools, and so it's a good market for them too. But how long that lasts, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working with another school in Trumbull, and the parochial schools their business model is completely changed. And my daughters are up in Vermont, and their school systems have jumped 85% since COVID started.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just definitely would not want to be wouldn't want to be selling property in New York City right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No. Yeah. My sister lives in Midtown, and she's a little worried about her value. But
yeah. So, all right.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So the next meeting is the 17th, and if I get any input from Peggy on the letter, I'll distribute the information. If we get any other letters from any other heirs, you'll be the first to know.
Awesome. Thank you.
Everybody.
Okay. So everybody, I think we're all set.
Cheers.
All set.
Thank you.
Rich, you got these minutes? You got we got to go double back and approve the minutes of the meeting from the last meeting.
Did you do that?
No, I was waiting for you.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
So
it's
yeah. Does anyone want to make a
I'll make
motion? to
I'll
approve?
make a motion, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Joe second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
I'm abstaining.
I'm
I
saying,
wasn't-
oh, you weren't here, yeah. And
Is
Althea,
everybody here?
and Althea's not here. She had a conflict, a business
Okay.
meeting tonight, so.
Okay,
Got it.
it's 6:53, Crane.
Beautiful. Calling meeting adjourned. Great. Thanks for everybody.
Cheers.
Thanks,
Take care.
guys. See you on the 17th.
Take care.
Bye.